Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of X-Men the Animated Series Season 1, Episode 4, Deadly Reunions. This originally came out January 23rd, 1993, so it's the first episode that actually came out in 1993. Before I jump into my review, just make sure I only talk about this episode or past episodes, no spoilers for future episodes, and make sure to subscribe. I'm covering everything X-Men, whether it's comics, figures, I'm doing the whole animated series, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. So what's really cool about the beginning of this episode is we get a very trippy sequence where Professor X has a psychic link in Sabretooth's mind. And what's cool about it is the most recognizable face that shows up besides Wolverine in Sabretooth's mind is Deadpool. So it's cool to see Deadpool in the animated form. That surprised me. I thought that was awesome. And we see Professor X is seeing how much pain is in Sabretooth, how much suffering he's endured, and he feels this rage, and it's very similar to what Wolverine's rage is like. And Professor X is like, let me in, basically, to Sabretooth, because he's blocking a very important part of what's causing all this rage, even though he saw most of it, again, with the bullying and stuff, but there's way more he hasn't seen. And what I like about this show does with explaining characters' backstories is they give you little crumbs each time. They don't fully break it all out, which I like. So it leaves a little mystery, and like it gets you kind of like, okay, what is the Sabretooth deal? It gets you intrigued more into the character, but doesn't just do it all in one shot. It leaves more to be explored, which I really, really am appreciating the most about this show. And we see Professor X sees this suffering, and he's like, no wonder Magneto believes there is no hope of peace, but we must never give up trying. And we'll see Professor X talks to the X-Men, debriefs them after their battle with Magneto last episode, and he informs them and informs the audience more too how Magneto has this view of mutants being an evolution of humans and that they are the Homo superior. So Professor X actually informs all the X-Men that he's trying to alleviate Sabretooth's rage, like he did for Wolverine, but there's still parts he's trying to penetrate in his mind. And Sabretooth has this great line, "What's wrong, Wolverine? No kiss and make up?" And then Wolverine's just like, "Kiss this." So great. So we learned Sabretooth and Wolverine work together, and Wolverine says he wasted friends of his for no reason. So just little breadcrumbs into their conflict and why they hate each other so much. You see Professor X informs Wolverine that he'll need his help for Sabretooth's therapy, and Wolverine's like, F that, basically, and he just walks away, which sets up a nice moment later on when Wolverine shows up, because I totally forgot he was still there and that he didn't go with the team to Magneto, but we'll get to all that, but that's a big point of him walking out to set up that payoff. So Magneto's next move is he's going quick, and he's literally attacking a chemical plant, and this is primarily to not only bait the X-Men, but to bait Professor X. Now he wants to see him, and they have to go immediately. Professor's like, we gotta get out of here. They jump on the Blackbird, and he tells Jubilee to watch Sabretooth, and she's like, my favorite job. So she's stuck, almost like the intern. She wants to move up, do more important stuff. And Magneto has not only the best line of the episode, but the best line of the show so far, when he's pondering and waiting for Charles Xavier, and he says, I wonder how you'll look, Charles, after so long. Perhaps a toupee? I died at that line. It's just so funny. What's interesting, too, is Storm, Cyclops, and Rogue are having problems head on here versus Magneto. He's basically taking them down, and Storm hits into a wall, and these bricks fall on her. And she has a moment of remembering a childhood traumatic moment, and we see her as a child for a second. So that, again, little breadcrumbs making you excited about her backstory, what happened there, that those bricks falling on her triggered that. So that was cool to see. And then when Rogue is resuscitating Cyclops, a great line she has is, come on, pretty boy, make a girl feel welcome. So funny. It's such a 90s written line too. And she's like, don't worry, I won't tell Jean. And then all of a sudden she absorbs Cyclops' power, which was really cool and a really cool surprise. And then Magneto goes on a rant here to Professor X, and he's like, when he was a child, his people talked and they tried to use reason while others used tanks, and they were destroyed for their trouble. So he's like, I won't stand by and watch it happen again. Just good character stuff for Magneto and why he does what he does. And Magneto's about to kill Professor X, and he's like, you were the best of us. But Professor X makes him watch his trauma of his parents dying, the biggest trauma of Magneto's life. You almost feel bad for him here, and he flies away. He's like, he can't handle it. So it's really cool to see how Professor X's powers can be used like that and how much that affected Magneto. Still, that trauma he hasn't really properly dealt with. So we also see setup for future storylines where Senator Robert Kelly, who's been a problem since the beginning, he doesn't like the current president, killed the mutant registration program, and he causes more mutant hate, talking about the chemical plants attack and just blaming mutants completely. And now he declares to run for president, and he wants to start camps that have mutants. So this was really bad. I love Jubilee's line to this, though, when he declares president. She's like, well, I guess I'm the Queen of England. I thought that was really funny. But you see Jubilee sees Sabretooth wrist is hurt and wants to help him out and takes off his cuffs. But you see he was just playing her. He was acting like he was changing for the better, and Jubilee fell for it. And I love her line. She's like, so you want an Oscar or what? But Sabretooth reveals this was all part of Magneto's plan. Like, Sabretooth was supposed to be there. That was the plan. Then he was going to tear down the school. But here's this great payoff I was talking about where Sabretooth's about to kill Jubilee, and he's like, I wish Wolverine were here so I could take care of his carcass too. And then Wolverine has the great line, be careful what you ask for, old buddy, it might just come true. And he shows up. That was so great. And another great line he says is, you're doing the dirty work for Magneto now, eh? You used to backstab people for fun. What turned you into a rat for hire? Hysterical. These are lines only as an adult you can really appreciate. And he really does sound like Christian Bale's Batman voice every time I listen to this now. I can't get that out of my head. And I love when the X-Men return, and they really do love their coffee. We see Storm loves the coffee in the beginning of the episode, and then you see Cyclops have a cup, and Cyclops' powers are back, so Rogue lost them, and she says, we'll have to do it again sometime, and Cyclops is like, oh, that was great. And Professor X shows up now to Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting, and he calls out Wolverine saying, don't let your personal feelings endanger the work of our team, I told you that. But this is where Jubilee stands up for Wolverine, like, no, he was protecting me. Sabretooth was going wild. And Sabretooth gets a good shot here at Wolverine, basically knocks him out, and Jubilee gets a nice moment to save Wolverine and returns that favor and shoots Sabretooth out of the building. And I love Sabretooth just books it. He's like, I don't want to fight all them. But Professor X says to Wolverine now in the hospital, he apologizes, like, I was wrong, Wolverine. I let my passion for an ideal that all mutants could be brothers blind me. So what I like, what's been happening in the past two episodes is that Wolverine and Professor X are more similar than you think, and they call each other out for it, that they both can be hypocrites in their own ways and both have strong, passionate ideals, but sometimes they go too far into those passionate ideals. So I really like they're exploring that well. And we get another Magneto cliffhanger now. This time he's under the moon, and he's saying that he's going to get mutants to come together by the thousands and destroy you, meaning the X-Men and Professor X. So another exciting cliffhanger. This is another solid episode. Not as good as the last episode. Again, that's how do you top that with Magneto's big entrance, but still really good, and you get to learn more about Sabretooth and Wolverine's relationship. And we got some nice humorous lines here, especially Magneto's about the toupee, and Rogue when she's resuscitating Cyclops. So overall, this is a strong episode still. I'm giving this one an 8.7. Let me know what you thought of this episode down below. Again, please subscribe. I'm trying to get this X-Men channel going. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to do every animated episode. I'm also going to do the new series when it comes out, X-Men 97. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts. I read every comment, and I'll see you next time.